Welcome back to Tales Recapped. Today I'm going to explain the film called Little Man, released in 2006. Spoilers ahead, watch out and stay safe. The movie begins in a prison in Chicago. Calvin, Babyface Sims, is doing push-ups on his cell. As he reaches his third push-up, he stops and looks at his cellmate, whom he calls Sweet Mouth, shaking in fear. Calvin asks what comes after 3. His cellmate responds. Calvin makes him count out loud as he proceeds with his exercising. Suddenly, 2 officers come up to their cell and one of them calls for Calvin's attention, telling him that he is now released from prison. So, Calvin grabs his prison uniform from his bed, says his farewell to his cellmate, and walks out his cell. As Calvin makes his way along the corridors of the prison, accompanied by 2 prison guards, the rest of the inmates in prison say their goodbyes to him. Calvin is a very short convicted jewel thief, but is treated as the scariest inmate. Percy, his cohort, arrives at the prison to pick him up. As they drive along, Percy tells Calvin of a job involving stealing a valuable diamond, ordered by a mobster named Walken. Percy tells the short man that they will be getting $100,000 if they successfully steal the precious jewel. Meanwhile, in a different part of Chicago, Daryl Edwards talks to his friend Jimmy about the most important day of his life. Jimmy has a keytar strapped around him as he gives his friend a hug congratulating him. Daryl pays him money for his services and watches his friend hide as the musician waits for the signal. Vanessa, Daryl's wife, arrives at the restaurant and is excited to share some good news. Daryl reminisces on proposing a year ago and promises to give the diamond to add to Vanessa's engagement ring. Afterwards, as the wife is ready to share the great news, Daryl thinks that she is pregnant and shouts. Everyone in the restaurant cheers. Jimmy comes in singing after hearing the signal. Vanessa cuts him off. Vanessa tells Daryl that she isn't pregnant. Daryl asks what they are doing in the restaurant if not about the pregnancy news. Vanessa tells him that she got the promotion. Daryl appears to be sad that they're not having a baby yet. They talk about not having to do any more quickies since Vanessa's dad moved in with him, despite Daryl suggesting a nursing home for the old man. Vanessa flat out refuses. Subsequently, Percy parks outside of the jewelry store where the Queen's diamond is located. Percy enters the jewelry store carrying a big duffel bag. Inside of it is Calvin with some equipment. Percy sees the diamond, puts the duffel bag down, and lets Calvin do his thing. As Percy watches him, one of his salesmen comes up to him, so he distracts her. With Calvin under the duffel bag, he makes his way under the stand of the diamond, drills around the bottom of the jewel, and successfully steals it. Meanwhile, a rich lady customer puts her chihuahua down. The dog makes its way under the diamond stand. Percy continues to talk to the saleswoman who tries hard to converse with Percy like she's from the hood. Calvin goes back to where Percy is, still under the handbag. The rich lady customer begins looking for her dog. Meanwhile, inside the bag, Calvin turns the flashlight on, revealing the dog inside the duffel bag with him. The chihuahua starts attacking Calvin. The rich lady customer notices it and runs up to Percy. On the other hand, the saleswoman realizes that the diamond is missing and calls for the police. Percy gets in the car. Calvin throws the dog out the window, which the rich lady is able to get back. As they drive away, the car goes around in circles. They get out of the vehicle to find a wheel clamp device that prevents the car from being moved. Upon hearing the police sirens coming closer, they run for their lives and reach a convenience store. Subsequently, Daryl and Vanessa are also inside the same convenience store, talking about having a baby. Calvin manages to stash the diamond in the purse of a nearby woman, who happens to be Vanessa. After the couple leave the store, they drive home and the thieves follow the handbag's owner via a taxi cab to her home. After the couple reach their home, Vanessa tells her dad, Pops, about the promotion. Pops makes a comment about Daryl being a bum, which starts the argument between Daryl and Pops. Meanwhile, Calvin watches from outside their window and comes to find that the married couple are eager to have a child. Percy suggests getting the diamond back his way with a gun. Calvin says no to guns because it'll only bring him back to prison. They try to figure out how to get the diamond back when they hear a baby cooing. They spot a woman pushing a carriage across the street. Calvin and Percy hatch a plot to pass Calvin off as a baby left on the couple's doorstep in order to get inside the home unnoticed. Percy places Calvin in a basket where dogs normally sleep, rings the doorbell, and hides behind bushes. Suddenly, a dog walks up to the basket where Calvin lays and pees on Calvin. Then the front door opens, followed by Vanessa. They see Calvin posing as a baby. Daryl reads a note on top of him, misspelling every single word, asking the couple to take care of baby Calvin. The couple bring Calvin inside the house to change his diapers because he smells like piss. They put him on the kitchen counter to check his diapers. The adults are surprised at his bigger than average size of a wiener for a baby. Then Vanessa volunteers to call child services and come to find that it's closed for the weekend. So Daryl convinces Vanessa that they can take care of Calvin in the meantime. Meanwhile, Percy goes to the mobster leader, Walken's place, and tells him that the diamond is safe. The mobster leader gives him 24 hours to give him his diamond, threatening Percy in the process. That night, the married couple invites their friends over to their home to introduce them to Calvin. Vanessa welcomes her guest, husband and wife Richard and Janet with their 3 kids, and the married couple Greg and Brittany with their son and nanny Consuela. They all line up at the living room as Vanessa and Daryl introduce the not-so-baby-looking Calvin, who enters the room smiling at them. The visitors all give backhanded compliments on Calvin's appearance. After their friends leave, Vanessa watches over Calvin in the bathtub and asks him if he wants some company. Calvin, thinking that Vanessa would join him, excitedly agrees. Vanessa then calls for Daryl, who walks in the bathroom. He removes his bathrobe, revealing his naked body, and excitedly joins his little boy in the bathtub. Soon after, they place Calvin on a crib and turn on the cot mobile to put him to sleep. Calvin, being a grown man, is confident that the cot mobile does not put anyone to sleep. He plans on waiting for the couple to go to sleep to steal the diamond and leave the place. But as he watches the mobile spin round and round, he falls asleep not long after. Hours later, Calvin wakes up and climbs out of his crib using blankets tied together as a makeshift rope. He gets the bag of Vanessa and leaves. Suddenly, Daryl wakes up from the noise and finds an empty crib. On the first floor, Calvin calls Percy on the telephone to go pick him up. Pops finds Calvin and points a shotgun at the little man. Daryl comes downstairs to find Pops and Calvin. Daryl gets angry at Pops for pointing a gun at Calvin's face. Daryl carries Calvin to the kitchen to fix him something to put him to sleep. As they are leaving, Calvin makes an offensive gesture to Pops. In the kitchen, Daryl tries to talk to Calvin as he warms up some milk for both of them. Vanessa watches Daryl give a really meaningful talk with Calvin about being a father. Afterwards, Daryl pours some warm milk on his cup and into a sippy cup he gives to Calvin. They cheer and each take a drink of the beverage. Vanessa chuckles and tells Daryl that he's drinking Janet's breast milk. The 2 men spit the milk out of their mouths. The next morning, Vanessa is making breakfast as Calvin is on a baby jumper watching a dinosaur TV show. Pops makes his way to the kitchen and changes the channel on the news. Calvin sees a news report about the jewelry robbery that took place yesterday. The little man distracts Pops by screaming that he wants to watch the dinosaur show. As the news is about to show Calvin's face, Vanessa changes the channel on time, back to the dinosaur show. Pops decides to read the newspaper instead. Since Calvin is hungry, he uses the baby jumper to grab the food served to Pops. Pops accuses Calvin of stealing his food and leaves for the diner to have his breakfast in peace. Meanwhile, Daryl enters the kitchen to have breakfast, but Vanessa tells her to feed the baby. When Vanessa leaves, Calvin hits Daryl on the head with a frying pan and knocks the husband out. Then Calvin proceeds to get the diamond from Vanessa's bag. But as the wife comes back looking for her purse, Calvin drags Daryl's unconscious body and places him on the sofa. Calvin then places the diamond on the baby bag. Soon after, Daryl brings Calvin to the park and meets up with his friends and their families. As Daryl and Richard get some ice cream, Percy finds Calvin in the park and the little man tells his cohort that the diamond is in the baby bag with a duck in it. But since all 3 baby bags have ducks in them, Percy proceeds to check. Janet sees Percy and notices that he doesn't have a child with him. So she blows her whistle and tells the moms in the playground to get Percy, who unknowingly grabs Greg's baby bag as he runs away. That evening, Daryl decides to bring Calvin with him and the boys to watch the hockey game. Calvin manages to get the diamond from the baby bag. As Daryl sees him taking something, Calvin puts the diamond in his mouth and swallows it whole. In the middle of the game, Daryl gets attacked by a very violent hockey player, but is saved by Calvin, who in turn gets beat up by the hockey player. Daryl feels bad seeing Calvin beat up and decides to throw him a big celebration. Calvin eventually takes a liking to have a family and starts to feel remorse for using them, especially when they throw him a birthday party coincidentally on his actual birthday, as Calvin never had parents who'd thrown him a party. Meanwhile, Pops finds out that Calvin is actually a grown man after watching the news in the diner and decides to play along, giving Calvin a teddy bear as his gift to the birthday boy. Subsequently, Walken grows impatient and demands the diamond from Percy. Percy attempts to get Calvin back by posing as his father, but is thrown out by Daryl. Walken's men witness this and as a result, believe that Daryl is Calvin, wanting to keep the diamond for himself. After the party, Calvin drinks Janet's medicine to help her kids poop. After Calvin poops, Daryl makes Vanessa change the diaper. Vanessa eventually finds the diamond, thinking it's a surprise from her husband. Later that night, the couple goes on a date and they decide to finally adopt Calvin. Upon coming home from their date, they find Pops and Calvin having a fight as the old man finds out Calvin's secret. Pops is sent to a retirement home, but before leaving, he tells Daryl to check the teddy bear. Daryl discovers the bear is actually a nanny cam and witnesses Calvin admit to his deception. He tells Vanessa, who goes to the retirement home to get Pops back, while Daryl calls the police and tells him about the diamond. Soon after, Walken and his henchmen come by the house after Percy lies to get out of trouble, claiming that Daryl is his partner who has the diamond. In a series of comedic maneuvers, Calvin manages to rescue Daryl and have Walken and his men arrested. Daryl is given a substantial reward for the recovery of the diamond, and since Calvin saved his life, he doesn't turn him over to the police. The movie ends with Calvin thanking Daryl for taking care of him, even though he wasn't really a baby, and admits that he thinks Daryl would make a great father for a real child someday. As Calvin walks away, he begins to cry hysterically, knowing he will miss the family very much. Daryl then decides to let Calvin stay, and the two men become the best of friends. Fast forward to the future, Calvin and Pops are playing with Daryl and Vanessa's real baby, who looks exactly like Daryl. Subscribe for more videos like this, and don't forget to turn on the notification bell icon. And lastly, leave a like, as it will really help the channel out. Thanks for watching.